Hi, I'm Marc, and on this channel I talk about Brexit and UK politics. Exclusive findings by The Guardian unveil that the UK's post-Brexit water monitoring standards will significantly diverge from EU norms. While England was an EU member, it adhered to the Water Framework Directive, the WFD, ensuring annual chemical and ecological river surveys. However, post-Brexit, a subtle change in the law, barely noticeable except to experts, would lead to rapid deterioration. Whilst the UK adopted the WFD into its law, it struck the yearly test stipulation from its books. The strategic divergence from the EU's environmental standards raises eyebrows, especially given the recent leniency towards chemicals and pesticides forbidden within the EU. Data from 2019, the last year in which comprehensive assessments were conducted, reveals alarming figures, with only 14% of English rivers being ecologically sound and, shockingly, none met good chemical health standards. Amidst the pandemic and a budgetary constraint in 22, a select few water bodies underwent assessment, and these limited evaluations depicted a decline in the quality of the assessed sites. Despite these abysmal findings, the UK government isn't set to release another comprehensive update until 2025. While the Environment Agency recognizes water quality improvement as a priority, the comprehensive classification update for all water bodies is slated for 2025. The approach, as they affirm, will be rooted in evidence and partnerships aiming to provide a clearer picture of the situation. Moreover, The Guardian reports that the government plans to use an undisclosed methodology to gauge river health as a replacement for pre-Brexit rules. Such a move, as Stuart Singleton-White, the head of campaigns for the Angling Trust, told The Guardian, could result in an obscuring of public understanding regarding safety and environmental health, as it is likely to hinder direct comparisons with other similarly developed countries, particularly European nations. WFD has been the bedrock of us understanding the state of our rivers, lakes and groundwaters, he says. It does not give a full picture, but it does provide a useful starting point. Past assessments have shown things are getting worse and not better. To now not have a full assessment in 22 and have to wait to 2025 simply sows confusion and leaves the public in the dark when it comes to properly understanding whether our rivers are getting better or worse, he says. And to discuss this shift in monitoring protocol, government officials recently engaged with stakeholders. An NGO representative present at these discussions expressed skepticism to The Guardian over the potential effectiveness of the proposed natural capital and ecosystem assessment process, and a spokesman from the Environment Agency confirmed to the reporter that the discontinuation of WFD data for future evaluations is there. And The Guardian is not the first organization to sound the alarm here. Earlier this year, the Trade and Business Commission issued a suite of recommendations to the government in the interest of boosting the British economy, and one of which was maintaining regulatory alignment with the EU where beneficial. And Paul Bloomfield, he's an MP, the Commission's co-governor, made it clear that this meant retaining the Union's regulations on water quality. And citing instances like the post-Brexit move to discharge sewage into rivers and coasts, he stated, Brexit shouldn't equate to compromised environmental standards. Aligning with the EU, especially on matters as vital as clean water, is not just beneficial but essential for those who value environmental integrity over profits, he says. And quoting Bloomfield in a press release, the Liberal Democrat spokesperson for the environment, Tim Farron, underscored the urgency for system overhauls and tighter regulations. Emphasizing the need for transparency and regular testing, he criticized the existing mechanisms for not addressing water pollution with the severity it deserves. And Britain is able to divert from EU water standards now because it is no longer a member of the European Union. The EU's Water Framework Directive, the WFD, sets out a number of environmental standards that all EU member states must meet. And these standards cover a range of issues, including water quality, water quantity, and the protection of aquatic ecosystems. When Britain was a member of the EU, it was legally obliged to comply with the WFD. However, since Britain left the EU in 2020, it is no longer bound by the WFD's requirements. The British government has stated that it intends to maintain high water quality standards, but it has also said that it will take a more flexible approach to regulation. And this means that the government chose to allow for some deviation from the WFD standards in certain areas. And there are a number of reasons why Britain may choose to divert from EU water standards. And one reason is to reduce the cost of compliance. The WFD is a complex and expensive directive to implement, that's true. By diverging from the WFD, Britain could save money on regulatory costs, on the cost of the environment. But another reason why Britain may choose to divert from EU water standards is to boost economic growth. Some businesses argue that the WFD standards are too strict and that they make it difficult for businesses to operate, to pollute the waters, making more profits. By relaxing the standards, Britain could make it easier for businesses to operate and grow. However, there are also concerns that diverging from EU water standards will lead to a decline in water quality, as we've seen already. Environmental groups have warned that the British government could be tempted to lower the water quality standards in order to save money or boost economic growth. And we know what they do with climate change at the moment. But the government also made other decisions than just on water quality. Despite reports of success in initial attempts with a 4-day week, the British state government wants to ban future experiments, so no experiments anymore. And experts see a massive overreach of the authority. In Great Britain, government ministers have escalated a political dispute over attempts to introduce a 4-day week for their employees, with clear warnings to local authorities. The new guidance directs districts that have already adopted a 4-day work week to immediately stop the practice, and those planning to do so in the future should stop any experimental programs. The dispute centers on South Cambridgeshire District Council over the city of Cambridge. The local government is so far the only one in the UK to experiment with a 4-day working week. Both office workers and field workers receive the same salary as before, but work 20% less than before. And according to the council, the experiment has already led to savings in recruitment and temporary workers, a total of over £500,000 saved, they say. Similar experiments in Switzerland have also produced similar results. And while supporters argue that the 4-day week benefits both employees and employers and increases well-being and productivity, the government complains that the model does not represent good value for money and fears a deterioration in quality. The British government does not provide any solid evidence for this, though. Now they are even threatening to take what they call necessary steps to put an end to the practice, but they don't want to reveal exactly what these will look like. Local government minister Lee Rowley has spoken out clearly against the introduction of a 4-day working week in local government and is calling for the experiments to be immediately scrapped in places that have already introduced them. Local district leaders are frustrated by what they see as an excessive government influence. One source even speaks to The Guardian of the state government's massive overstepping of its authority. And Bridget Smith, leader of South Cambridgeshire District Council, also campaigned for the autonomy of local councils. And Pete Marland, the chairman of the Local Government Association's Resources Committee, argues, citing difficulties in recruiting staff, that local councils should have the freedom to address these challenges in a variety of ways, including a test introduction of the 4-day week. So the government has a lot of work to do at the moment. And it had nothing to do with the Stinky Waters, but there are topics where there's no space to make a single video on them, but I still think they're important for you to know. And so from time to time, I will include them into other videos with a different topic, so you get this information, and I think it's important. And if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.